It's time for House to Home with your host, Clyde Hawsey, where you will hear from local people who turn their houses into homes all across the inland Northwest, and you'll learn how to do the same. House to Home is brought to you in part by River Ridge Hardware and Avista. Now, here's Clyde.
And welcome again to House to Home. I'm Clyde Hawsey. I'm a landscape architect and I'm heavily involved in construction. And I brought in some good friends of mine that I feel you need to listen to and hear about. Great American Construction Company, Justin and Curtis, family operated, been in Spokane. You know, you need to deal with people in the construction business that you know and you can trust. And in the second half, I'll share a quick story with you that'll even reconfirm that. But for right now, let's talk about Great American Construction. Curtis, Justin, which one?
I'll start, yeah.
Okay, sounds good, Justin. Go ahead.
So we've been in business. This is our 26th year.
Right.
I'm not even that old, so I guess I shouldn't say we so much as he and my mother have been in business.
Right.
But 26 years in the Spokane area, pretty much everything on the exterior, but we mainly specialize in siding, windows, roofing, gutters. But we're more than happy to kind of look at all exterior products. Interior remodels we sometimes jump into just to stay busy during the winter months, but primarily our specialty is exterior work for sure.
So, folks, what they're saying is that there isn't much they haven't seen, right?
Pretty much.
Is that correct, Curtis?
I've seen a lot, yes.
You've seen a lot, okay. And Justin, you were correct. You know, I get a kick out of this. I've talked to some construction people. There's nothing that we can't fix. Okay, that's maybe my first light of saying, I wonder what they specialize in besides everything. And what you're saying is that we specialize in exterior. And I know that you brought along, and as they lead into this today, we can take a look at some of the pictures of some of the things that we can talk about. But exterior means roofing, siding, windows, concrete work, I would assume, along that line.
Some repair stuff on, if it kind of interferes with, like egress windows,
Right.
Things like that.
Egress windows. Big item because, again, adding extra bedrooms into your home,
Jumps that home value.
you have to have ingress and egress from them. Otherwise, it's a trap.
And it's a safety thing too.
Well, that's a trap.
You don't want your kids sleeping in a basement that they can't get out of. So.
No, exactly. And that is the whole thing that I'm trying to say with the ingress and egress. A lot of people, we'll just put you down to basement.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work, folks. That doesn't work. So identify what's happening around you and where you're going to put those loved ones to rest and lay down their head at. This time of the year, which again we're looking at, we're into the winter time and so forth. And I have to be honest with you, Curtis, I need to get hold of you. In fact, write this down. I need a roof repaired. I found out we had some real torrential rains here earlier here in the season. And guess what? There's something that's not working correctly. I just had new gutters put up, so I know it's not that. But it's back up on the trough. Again, a roof from a distance at the ground looking upward is not always in the best shape. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, you could definitely look up, just drive by and be like, that roof is 5 years old. That must be in perfect shape. But it also depends on who installed it, who's been up there, what sort of repairs you've done to other parts of the roof. All can factor into exactly what's wrong with it. So it might be new, but that doesn't mean there's not problems with it.
Well, I want to share with you folks that even, I've seen these new snow removals off the roof that people stand on the ground and they reach up there and they scrape. That can destroy a roof.
Yeah, especially depending on what they're using to scrape that roof
right,
with.
But you see these, I don't know, it's like a rake, you might say.
Yeah.
And that roofing was not built or manufactured for that intent. So understand what you're dealing with before you start dealing with what the problem you got. Gutters, big item. I've seen gutters nailed up. They're not nailed up anymore because they weren't properly installed, and I think that is real important. The front, and I've always said the front 2 to 4 feet of the roof, they take the most abuse. We stand on the outside, we bang against them, put up Christmas lights. And then we turn around and we even walk on the edges sometime where we clean the ice off. We bang the ice off. I mean, what all do we not do with that edge? So we need to be very gentle with the whole roofing system. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, definitely, because, even, again, like you said, those first few feet, that's where a lot of people are moving around. But, also in regards to, we talked earlier, before the show about chimneys, and if
Right.
people are up working
Wanted
on
to go there
chimneys,
next. Yeah.
that's where they're also going to be doing some stuff up around that chimney line, and if they mess up with your flashing, or if they mess up with a vent as they're walking up that's on the top, or if they stand on ridge vent, I mean, there's so many problems you can have with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, or someone who knows what they're doing but they accidentally do something, and now all of a sudden you're right. Now it's not just the first couple feet, but now you're on the top of the roof, and there's a lot of problems going on up there.
What he's saying is that, folks, whenever you are working with contractors, and again, we'll touch on this in the second part of the program, but make sure they understand how to deal with chimney cleaning, or checking the flue, or checking for soot, or even if you understand when you get up on that roof, you're walking on a gentle surface that it's actually tar, right? I mean, the majority of them are all tar, and if it shakes, I mean, they may slide out from underneath you. So you have to really watch that, and they'll last forever if they're not abused, right?
Yeah, roofs do last for a long time. I'll let you kind of touch on this one a little bit more too.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what type of roof they go with, you got your 30 years now is kind of the common type of roof that we use around Spokane, and you could go up all the way to 50-year to lifetime roofs. And what time of year you get up on your roof does matter, because it is tar. Some people get up there in the 100-degree weather and rub the rocks right off the shingle.
That's what I was going to talk about.
They cause a lot of problems. So they should always have a professional get up and make sure that things are done right. But if they do get up, they should actually even contact a professional to make sure how they need to get up on a roof and how they're not going to cause problems. Because walking up valleys, like Justin said, walking on vents up on the top, you can cause a lot of issues without even knowing.
What he's saying is that it's not as easy as it looks sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it.
You think you could just walk on it because, that's, in theory,
Yep.
that takes the most beating. You're like, oh, I should be able to run around my roof and have no problems. But there's a lot of things that could go wrong.
Well, I'm going to speak to that one a little bit here. It was a couple years ago. We had a windstorm that came through in February or January, or in the wintertime it came through, and some trees came down, and I lost part of my roofing. Well, I had a blue roofing for a while they could get back to repair it, but I found out they didn't quite patch it correctly, and here it is a couple years later. As I told you, I've got some water problems. So, see, I hired the wrong contractor. See, that's what I'm trying to point out, is that you may say, well, gosh, they were going to cost me $10,000 to do it. And I found this guy for $6,500, $5,000. Well, I hate to tell you, you get what you pay for, and it hasn't changed. Am I right?
Well, there's a lot of things. We go out and look at roofs that have been done just a couple years ago, and sometimes, a lot of companies do not use employees; they use subs, and those subs they look great from the ground, and even though they get inspected, they are fine from the ground looking up, but how many times we go and look and they put the valleys in backwards where the water rolls underneath the roof and goes into the house, or vents are.
What haven't you seen,
There's so many things that could go wrong. I mean, there's a lot of industry standards that people don't use anymore, because the younger people that are getting into the business,
right,
they've been taught to do it a certain way. Well, those ways are not usually done right anymore. Keeping vents open, the ends of the vents. A lot of people put the roofing around all the vents and all the pipe boots. Well, you need those left open so that water can drain. Like my boss used to say back, we won't say how long ago, but it was a while ago, used to say, you have to think like water when you do work. And a lot of people don't do that anymore. Water does roll downhill and actually goes uphill a little bit sometimes too.
It builds up, and of course, when the ice builds up, then we really got a build-up problem on our hands, and especially around some of the older homes that have fireplaces and bricks, and I've seen bricks literally falling off.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, or have damaged the roof when they fell off, and we don't realize how critical that is, and it does damage it, and you need to be fully aware of. Probably a metal roof is the only thing that isn't going to be damaged with age, I would assume.
Well, what's funny, and you have several different types of metal roofing, but, like roofs with screws in them, the garmented screws, the metal goes quite a while, but, those garments do wear out. Or like I just did a roof the other day that they tightened the screws down too much, and it kicked the garments out too far, and that's going to wear them out quicker because they tighten the screws down too tight. So there's a lot of you know, a lot of finesse that goes with metal roofs too that can cause problems.
Well, that's why, folks, when I was thinking about the subject that we wanted to talk about, roofing and the time of the year and water problems, I wanted somebody that has some experience, who has no axe to grind with anybody
Nope.
except time and materials, and that is so, so critical. We're going to be talking about, I want to lead in part of the second part of the program is going to be talking about some windows, because these all tie together. But let's finish up with, again, if you've got a roof that is getting, you said up to 30 and 50 years, what do you recommend?
Well, I think
Warranty?
You know, if a roof is put on properly, a good 30-year roof should last the full 30 years.
Okay.
And sometimes even longer if you keep them. You know, the big thing is everybody buys products and they think they don't have to maintenance it because it's brand new. You have to keep your valleys clean. You got to keep your gutters clean. You got to keep things from building up behind the chimney. I get a lot of calls, you know, skylights and chimneys, they're a great block
Skylights.
of stuff. And water builds up behind those things whenever you get too much. I had a job where the skylight was leaking. All I had to do was go up and take about a foot, you know, high leaves out of there, and it never leaked again. And that was easy. They could have done that themselves, but of course they didn't mean it. They thought there was a problem with their skylight, and it wasn't anything to do with the skylight. It was just leaves.
Well, let me share some ideas with you folks. If you have skylights, I have 13 of them in my home. I have been fortunate, but also after the home is almost 40 years old, I have some issues to be dealt with. When you
Yeah.
come out, you're going to have to deal with them. Again, Curtis just brought up a point. Things don't last forever.
Yeah.
You have to maintain them, keep them in proper repair, understand what you have to deal with, make some notes, come back on a calendar and say, I've got to follow up with a maintenance. No different than changing the oil in your car, no different than getting a fresh bottle of milk because it expired. You have to keep tabs on these things, and that's real important. We're going to take a quick break from this, folks, and we have a lot of ideas, and we've got a lot of experience. And Curtis and Justin, you're going to fill us in, because I want to talk about some windows, and then I want to talk about contracts. When you're dealing with contractors, what do you do, what do you not do? And I have a very short story, and it's a very serious problem. So let's take a break at this point. We're going to come back, and we're going to be talking about a lot of ideas that need to be handled next.
Hi, this is Larry at River Ridge Hardware. Just wanted the opportunity to show you a little bit about our Christmas. We have Christmas tree stands. We have ornaments that you won't find anywhere else. We have the small Christmas lights. We have the tube lights that you can run up and down. We also have a massive amount of snow shovels. Come on out and visit River Ridge Hardware.
Welcome back to House to Home. I'm here with my special friends, Justin and Curtis Reed, Great American Construction Company, and they have been in business in Spokane for a long, long time. I forgot the first part. I wanted to actually touch on it. What is your website? Where can people get hold of you and so forth? I don't want to forget that.
Yes, yeah. So we're on, of course, the internet. Our website, greateramericanconst.com, which you can see up there on the screen.
Right.
We're also on Facebook, fairly active, trying to show some of the work that we do. Our website also has a lot of testimonials of people talking about our work, our pictures before and after, all of our products that we utilize. Pretty much everything you need to know about us is on our website. Since we're family owned, our phones are always on. So if you see our phone number, and we'll definitely get back to you as soon as possible. So that's kind of the nice thing, is that we are so responsive.
Well, I want to say this, folks. What you see is what you get here. These people are real. As being in the construction business, I can tell you that there's a lot of construction going on that needs to be red flags thrown up, and this company is all, this is what you want to work with, and they're going to give you, if you go to the website, again, they're proud of what they do, they're proud to tell you what they do, and they are they get a lot of referrals at the same time.
That's 99% of our business.
Okay.
One line in the phone book is the only advertising we do. And sort of this. I think this probably counts a little bit like advertising.
Satisfied customers pay off in the long run. We were on the first segment, we were talking about the roofs, and I wanted to be talking about a little bit about the windows. And I know on our screen, maybe we can pop up some of those and showing some of the windows of casing where we lose some of the basis of vapor has been lost. Just on the screen it shows you right now. What's happened here?
So what happened there is that's a seal loss.
Okay.
A seal that failed, essentially. So when a window gets manufactured, it gets vacuum sealed with argon gas inside. And when air is able to get in there, that's where moisture follows as well. So that's the first key to look for, is moisture on the inside of the glass.
Yeah, you're not going to wipe it off.
Nope. As much as you try to, that you're not going to get anything off of that. And there's no way to get in there to clean it either. So that's the first thing to look for is if there's moisture that you can't reach and there's moisture you can't get off, that's a seal failure. And that's definitely something you should get.
Or in the summertime, after the moisture has actually left us, and it's going to be it looks dirty all the time.
Exactly, and there's no way to clean it. And
there's no way to clean it.
That's definitely something you would have to, that's when you're going to need a new window.
Is it a point of changing the window or changing the glass?
So with vinyl, we can definitely replace the glass. Most of the time, the price between getting a whole new pane of glass in there and just a new window is not too much of a difference. Depending on the age of the window, would kind of determine exactly which route you want to go. For instance, with any window that we put in, that warranty covers any seal failure, so we would just come in and replace it. We would replace the IG and actually just do that. It's all included. So, but it really would depend on exactly the age of the window for sure.
Well, and I'm going to take you this particular point, Justin, is that when you're replacing this window, this glass, don't not think about using some glass that will reflect the sunlight and keep the sunlight from coming in the summertime. It keeps it cooler. Talk to your window replacing company. Am I correct on this?
Yeah, so when it comes to windows, the one thing you're looking at is low E, and that's what is pretty much standard. You can't really, you can buy windows with clear glass if you're not, for whatever reason you want clear glass, but standard usually comes with a low E, and you can get varying levels of window packages with more low E, less low E, different types of low E, depending on which climate you actually live in. So we actually had a customer up on the South Hill who was from Texas, and they wanted a window that they were fine with the heat. So in the summer, they didn't care if heat came in. So we sold them a glass package that in the winter allowed as much sun in as possible, because they wanted to get as warm as possible. They didn't care if in the summer they had to be warm. So there's different things we can do we can really customize the glass, which is kind of interesting, and it's a little confusing.
It is.
But that's something that I try and keep customers up with, is try and explain that so they understand it.
So what you're saying is that, folks, when you're starting to replace glass, write down this comment right now. Check on the
low E,
the
glass package.
Identify and have them explain to you what you're going to get or what you could get as some options, because it all adds up. And I have done this in my own home. I replaced some windows. We had actually tinted, which is a film on it. But what happened is that they were stationary glass, and they caused it to shrink, and it broke the seal. It worked great.
Tinting does void the warranty for most windows when you tint the glass.
That's what I was leading up to, Curtis, because you've been through that one before.
I've been called on a couple of those.
Yeah, and so you need to understand what you're getting. It's a cheaper way of doing it, but the bottom line is it can cost you a lot of money at the other end when they start breaking apart. So understanding that, again, so what you're saying is that sometimes it's cheaper to replace the whole window and go from there.
Especially, again, you're looking at the age and you're doing kind of a cost-benefit analysis. And if your window's 20 years old, is it more beneficial just to replace the glass in that vinyl window? Probably not. So, but again, that's something that we can always talk about, because it really does vary on each window, each home.
And it does matter on the fact that if you go have too old of a window, they don't make parts and pieces for those vinyl windows. And vinyl, when you go to take what they call a glazing bead, which is what holds the glass in, if you break those, sometimes the windows are too old to get new glazing bead for those windows, and then now you're in a problem with you got all this brand new glass, but you can't set them in your old windows.
Well, when you start replacing windows that are 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, which I've experienced, folks, they're not always able to be replaced with the same thing. So accept that things have changed. And I have to be honest with you, energy efficiency, the renewable energy, which is our electricity and so forth, that we do a lot of our lighting and heating within our home, it has been improved upon, and we need to look at the dollars and cents, and the ideas have changed at that particular point. I wanted to share a very quick moment with you folks, and this is, to me, is right at my heart right now, because as I indicated, I'm a landscape architect, and I've been heavily involved in project management. And we're at the point where we're dealing with some people that some tenant improvements at the end that I'm not involved with, but my leaseor is involved, and we had a situation where the contractor passed away. And from that, we find out, this was happened within a few days ago, and we find out they didn't have anything in writing. Now, I may share with you folks, it is so critical. I don't care how good I know Justin, how good I know Curtis. I don't know his wife, but she's got to be a saint to put up with you. But my
Yes.
point being, they are wonderful people, but I still require and will always require things in writing. What haven't I said?
You're spot on. I think there's two parts to that too. One thing is
Please.
is definite. You have to have it in writing, because no matter what happens, word of mouth, when you're talking to a customer about something and they, either we expect not to do something or the customer expects us to do something, once you get into that gray area, it really could cause some problems. So no matter what you talk about, you have to have it all written down, in an email. Even an email is just as fine as actual paper nowadays. And so
That is correct.
That is one nice thing. The other thing to look at too is when it comes to warranties. For instance, when you talked about the guy who passed away, some companies may only offer a warranty just through themselves. For instance, like with us, we have a warranty through our company, but as well as the manufacturer. So, let's not say we pass away, but let's say we go out of business the day after we put your products in.
Right.
Now, some companies, you may just be out of luck. And, we'll give you a warranty from the manufacturer as well, so that you can also have them cover your product. So I think it's a two kind of step process there. You want to have the security of having your work done the way that you want it to be done, but then also having your work covered via warranty also if something were to go wrong. So I think there's definite reasons to have things in writing and also to check warranties as well.
Well, as an architect, and I had my own construction company, I always overkilled. I cut a lot of trees down because I always did everything with paper back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's electronics. And my point that I'm trying to illustrate, folks, do not assume anything. Yes, you're going to install a patio for me. And in my mind, I know what I want, but do you know what I want?
Nope.
See, that's my point. We all have different directions that we think things through.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put down everything in writing. I don't care if it's white paint.
Mm-hmm.
What color of white paint is, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Do you want a high gloss, low gloss? I mean, the stupidest questions that you think of, put them down.
Yeah, we have
Am
like
I
three
right?
different kinds of white when it comes to
There you
it's our
go.
siding and our
We didn't
metal.
talk about this, but that's a good one.
Exactly, and so glacier white is our go-to white, but we never just put white. It's glacier white wrap or glacier white siding, or when it comes to our windows, we have a white, an almond, a beige, and we can't just say beige window because there's 4 different kinds of brown windows we could put in. And so yeah, you're right. You have to put the exact color, because if we put in beige windows and you're expecting almond windows, now who said what. And then obviously, just because we've been in business long enough, we're in the business to make the customer happy, and we're going to put in almond windows, and that's on us if we didn't write it all down. So you need to write everything down.
Well, in the first half of our program, we talked about advertising and marketing, and you are saying the words, again, you go on referrals,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I'm trying to bring about here. Again, maybe they didn't hear it, but can you give us your site so we can not forget that
Yep,
one again?
it's greateramericanconst.com. You can find us on Facebook, just Greater American Construction. Pretty much everything you could ever need to know about us is on those two things: our contact, email, phone number, our technical business hours. Even though, again, we've been owning a
Right.
business, you're technically always on the clock. So, pictures of all of our jobs, testimonials of again our referrals, our customers we've done work with, our Google rating, our Better Business Bureau rating, I think our Angie's List. There's all sorts of ones out there, but it's all about, especially in owning a business without, a ton of overhead to run a bunch of ad campaigns. Our goal is to make customers happy, and then they're going to tell their neighbors or their family members or whoever, like, hey, this is who we use, this is who we trust, licensed, bonded. We were happy. When it goes back to the contracts, they did the work that we discussed, what we laid out, and that's who you should use, and that's the key.
You have touched on the whole thing. You've brought around through a complete circle on the thing, and Justin, you're correct because you were brought up correctly. Curtis, you were bringing along the same ideas because you carried that same theory
Yep.
for 25 years plus at that particular point, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies, they forget that this is when you start a business, it's a long term. It's not just make a quick buck and be out of business next week. If you're working for the long term, and like me, when we started, we didn't have kids, but once our kids came along, this needed to be our business to support our children. So we always thought long term when it came to business, and treating customers right is the key to all that.
And customer service is number one.
It's amazing how many companies don't understand that anymore.
And I see that happening day in and day out, and I wonder why and what's going on, because customer service, taking care of you folks, that you've come to us to listen to us, to give you some ideas. As I come to you to give us some ideas, you have to ask questions. Yep. I have yet to find out any stupid question.
Nope.
I've been stupid by not having the answer sometimes, but guess what? If I don't have the answer, we're going to go find the answer. And that's one of the things that when you're choosing the contractor, I don't care what it's for. It can be even maintaining your car.
Yep.
Ask some dumb questions, because look at the answer you get back, but have things put in writing. And I think that is a real big critical item that we need to look at here today.
Yep.
Are there any highlights that you want to pass along here today, Justin and Curtis? Because, again, we've been talking about your business.
I think the key is, we kind of touched on the customer service aspect. If businesses aren't going to make time for you, then you shouldn't make time for them.
Or return a phone call.
The amount of times we go to a house,
Amazing how often that is.
how many jobs we get from people who are like, "You're the only one who showed up," or "You're the only one who called us back. You're the only one who gave us an estimate." And it takes
be on time.
And that's being on time. I mean, because you look at cable companies, you look at internet, all of pretty much every consumer business. How many times are you like, "Oh yeah, we'll be there between 12 and 3," and it's like, well, now my whole day's ruined, And so, 1 p.m., that's when we're going to be there. We're going to give you a quote. We're going to answer all the questions you have, and because we want you to be comfortable, because it's an investment, no matter what way you look at it. And if you're not happy, if you're not comfortable, then it's either going to make it problematic for us on the long run, or you're just not going to go with us. You're going to go find someone else.
Well, and I have found that the busier the people are, the better they are in following back and answering the phone and show up on time, because what they word is organized.
Mm-hmm.
And they know what it is to take care of the customer. And I think that is the number one issue that we're talking about.
And
right?
that's where we'll toss my mom some bonus points, because she keeps us on schedule and keeps us doing things. And without her running the show from the phones and the books and all of that, I don't think it would be nearly as successful.
Well,
so we'll toss her a little bit of a shout out there too.
Well, yes, she needs a big shout, because she prepared the Christmas dinner for you.
Yes,
up.
exactly.
So, folks, this is what we were talking about. Follow through, and again, in the construction business, please, please, please have it written down. Understand what you're getting yourself into. Understand what it's supposed to be. Understand that we're all on the same table. Do not assume anything.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That is so, so critical. Any other item that we want to touch about here at this particular time?
I don't think so.
Okay. Folks, we've enjoyed coming to you from house to home and sharing some of these ideas with you, and I feel that we've covered a lot of areas. So at this time, I'm Clyde Hossie. We'll see you next time on House to Home.
Thanks for watching House to Home, which is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksMedia.com, which is solely responsible for their content. House to Home is sponsored by River Ridge Hardware and Avista. Ask Clyde a question, recommend a guest, or hear this program again on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com.